Chapter 43 of Keeper the Lost Cities, Book 5, Lodestar. Are you sure Demeter is not agreeing to the meeting so they have to have the perfect chance to slice off Vinton's head with his extra spiky sword? Fitz asked. Because if I were him, that's what I'd want to do, after the way the Never-Seen Plague had backfired on him. And I'd be good with that. They're welcome to take out Oliver, too. I wouldn't mind if the orcs finished off Brant either, Sophie added, trying to scrape the silky skin slime off her shoe. Same goes for anyone else that helped attack Willie. Don't worry. They'll be in huge trouble for letting him get away, Keith promised. How do you know they'll be punished? Fitz asked. I know it won't be fun. Oliver told me that when Brant realized Sophie actually was the girl they've been looking for, and that Oliver messed up the day he saw him disappear, he locked Oliver in a room and set everything on fire except one square of the floor in the middle. He left him roasting in there for a whole day. Good, Fitz said. I hope they do even worse for this. That's pretty dark, dude. So is what they let them do for Willie. Sophie reached out for Fitz's hand. Fitz's very shaky hand, wishing she knew how to peel back some of his building anger, fury that was always his mask. But if he hid too far behind it, he might lose himself. She also couldn't stop imagining Keith trapped in a room surrounded by smoke and flames. If they find out you came here, they know I'm here, Keith told her. There's an orc me that stinks like the entire world is rotten, and I may have accidentally knocked a vial of it into the laundry basin while I was washing Finton's favorite clothes. It can only be removed by silky skin, so they sent me to get what I needed to clean up my mess. He's making you do his laundry? Sophie asked. It's one of my chores. That's what happens when you join the organization that attacks the gnomes. We're stuck doing everything ourselves. And we won't be able to tell when you went to Haverfield before you came here? Fitz asked. Nope, I found a way to hide 5 seconds from my tracker. I'm pretty sure Jax would have think it's the stupidest trick ever, but it works. And I used those 5 seconds to drop off the bead before I headed here. It was perfect. But it only takes one mistake, Sophie told him. Especially now that the orgs are back in the picture. King Dementar won't remember you from Raviog. And I'm sure he'll try and convince Finton that you're a traitor. Keith had been their distraction during the mission in the org's capital, pestering the king with questions and misleading information while Sophie and Fitz searched his memories. Keith shrugged. I won't be getting anywhere near King Dementar. And not just because I sometimes have nightmares about that metal underwear he walks around in. He demanded to meet with Finton alone. That sounds like a really good way for Finton to get killed by an angry orc, Fitz noted. I don't know if the meeting unravels. I think we have fire-roasted orc long before he have a headless Finton, Keith told him. But I also think this is one of those enemy of the enemy is a friend kind of deal. Or it is, my enemy isn't my enemy if they're also my enemy. You lost me, Sophie admitted. Yeah, the logic kind of wonky. What I mean is, the Never-Seen and the orcs both want the council gone. And now that King Dementar's been forced to treaty negotiations, he must be feeling pretty desperate. He has to know his only chance of beating the council is with the help of the Never-Seen. I'm sure the counselors have all kinds of secret defenses that Finton knows about, since he used to be one. And Finton has also realized that he needs the orcs' help to pull off his plans. So my guess is he's going to offer to share his secrets with the orcs and provide elven backup if King Dementar's work with him is to overthrow the council. I'm sure they'll turn on each other afterward. and there's no telling who would win. But it won't matter because by then everything will already be ruined. I didn't think the orgs had never seen already teaming up for the plague, Fitz asked. It didn't go so well. Right, but they didn't commit either, Keith reminded him. The Neverseen sat back and let the orgs do all the dirty work, and the orgs thought the plague would be enough. If they teamed up for a real attack, I think it would be a whole other story. You really think the council could fall? Sophie whispered. Yeah, I do, Keith said. Don't get me wrong, but the councilors are freakishly powerful. I was a little stunned of how prepared they were to stomp us when we broke into exile. But they're also really slow, a bit too slow, too blind to a lot of our problems, too reluctant to make it hard choices. And look how they handled the plague. They investigated a bit, called a few assemblies, and that was it. We had to stop it, and Calla had to give up her life. Sophie locked her arms at her side so she wouldn't pull on her eyelashes as the counselor's faces filled her mind. Some good, some cruel, some annoying, some she didn't even know. None of them deserved to die. And orally? Imagining the ethereal counselor in her hands of the orgs or the Neverseen made her want to leap back to Eternia and beg the council to go into hiding. But would that really keep them safe? And what message would that send the rest of the world? Then again, what could happen if the council fell? We have to stop it, Sophie said. She didn't know how. But they never knew what they were doing, and somehow they always made it work. That's a confident Foster we all know and love. Fitz cheered. I bet your head is already filling up with brilliant plans. Not yet, Sophie, she admitted. Warning the council seems pointless. They'll just tell us they can handle themselves. Or worse, they could use it as an extra excuse to enact some of those restrictions that Orly has been worried about. Maybe the Black Swan will have some ideas, Fitz said. Because they had so many awesome ideas for what to do about Willie, Sophie countered. Any chance you've manifested any new abilities that could solve all our problems in one fell swoop? Keith asked Sophie. No, and I don't know why you keep thinking I'm going to. Wouldn't the Black Swan have triggered it when we triggered my other ones? Is the Black Swan we're talking about? Keith argued. They take a million years to do anything. And just to be specific, you know I'm rooting for Phaser. Think of how much havoc you could cause if you could walk through walls. Shouldn't we be trying to come up with an actual plan? Fitz asked, instead of putting all the pressure on Sophie. But Foster's gonna be the one who figures it out. You just gotta give that fancy brain of hers a second to work. That's not true, Sophie's world trailed off as an idea started to scrape. Keith grinned. Go ahead, Foster. Amaze us. She stared into the black sludge trickling across the sands. It's not a full plan yet, but the orgs and the Neverseen already have a precarious relationship, right? So what if we do something to push it over the edge and make sure they never trust each other ever again? See, Keith said. Told you she'd solve it. Maybe we'll get our wish and they'll destroy each other in the process. So what are you thinking? Convince Dementor and Fenton told everyone Dementor's butt looks dimply in those metal undies? Or maybe we fill Fenton's bedroom with those nasty org plants like Lady Cadence used to make us peel into tension? What were they called? Curdle roots? And he'll be like, oh no, Dementor didn't. It's on. Do you even know where any of those Neverseen's other hideouts are? Sophie asked. Wait, Fitz said. You actually considering those plans? No, they're insane. They're totally insane. But if we're going to come up with something better, we need to know what we have to work with. Like, we have to access to. And how much time we have. Do you know how we can find out when and where King Dementors and Finns are going to meet? She asked Keith. Because if we can cause something to go wrong during the meeting, they'll think the other set up a trap? I don't know. One thing I've learned as a new kid in the Evil Rebellion is not a good idea to ask too many questions, and I've been trying to save them to find out how to steal the caches. The caches are important, Sophie said, but this has to be a bigger than time crunch. It sounded like the peace summit is coming up quick, and I'm assuming they'll be meeting before then. Yeah, I guess that makes sense, Keith said, shaking the sand off his cloak. See if I can find a way to bring it up to the orgs during my next empathy lesson. Maybe the fact that Fenton's going to be angry at everyone for watching the Willy thing, he'll make him a little more willing to open up to me. Be careful, Sophie begged. I'm still imagining every punishment. None of this is worth what they'll do to you if they figure out you're helping us. I got this, Keith said, tucking behind the rocks he'd been leaning up against when they arrived. He returned carrying a sludgy, slinky bucket. I better get back. I'm sure the person meeting me at the Rendezvous point is there by now. I think we should check in more than once a day from now on, Sophie told him as she fished out a simple blue crystal. That way you won't have to try and slip away again. Is there another time that's safe to talk? I get breakfast to break around sunrise and dinner break around sunset, so we could go with either of those times or both, but no check-ins tonight. I'm supposed to have a special skill lesson with Roy. Even that's changed, I should probably lie low. Tomorrow morning, then, Sophie said, trying not to think about how early she'd be waking up from now on. Woo-woo! For bonus Keyfoster time. Try not to get jealous, Fitzy, but she likes you better than me. But someday I will wear her down. I'm sneaky like that. Not sneaky enough, a voice growled behind them. Sophie's panic mixed with dread when she realized the voice was high-pitched and squeaky. When she turned around, she found Sander, Grizzle, Alden, and Grady glaring at them. Uh-oh, that's my cue, Keith said, his eyes on his feet, and he moved his crystal to the light and disappeared through the path. Grady's lips pressed into a rigid line, parting enough to only release one word. Grounded, Alden added, for the rest of eternity. That concludes Chapter 43 of Keep Your Lost Cities, Lodestar, Book 5.